Welcome to the Relationships Inside Out podcast with Doctors Gregory Siebert and Kimberly Murray, licensed marriage and family therapists. Join them on this journey as they explore the ins and outs of relationships.
Well, welcome to Relationships Inside Out, where today we're going to talk about parental burnout.
I feel that to my core. Parental burnout is the idea of being a parent is really hard and we get tired, right? Just like you can burn out at work and you don't want to go to work anymore. You don't want to function. You feel really tired. Parenting is no different.
Yeah.
I love my humans. And I wish I could go home and clock out for a little bit like I do from work.
Yeah, you feel exhausted, you're more cynical, and then you have a sense of inadequacy. Because you're burnt out and you're tired, you feel guilty because I'm not doing a good enough job, or I'm not a good parent.
And I think about any type of burnout, regardless of origin, it can then bleed into other areas, right? So if I'm burnt out as a parent, I may not be as engaged as a partner. I may not be as effective at work. I may be more bitchy across the board.
Yeah.
Whatever it might be, it starts to bleed into far more areas than just my poor children.
And you may not be engaged as children, right? That may be a factor of it. We tend to be more snippy, more short, easily irritated, more stress. We tend to distance a little bit too, depending on where we're at. And this is where I think a lot of the guilt and shame come from is like, I don't want to be around my kids. They're annoying me right now, right? The cynicism. And this is where we're like, well, I'm a parent. I shouldn't think these things or feel this way.
And it's normal. We see it symptomology wise with parents being on their phone more, with maybe giving your kids more iPad or screen time, with more snapping or yelling at our kids. This kind of behavior that is our nervous system communicating, I can't take in the stimulus right now. I need space.
And a lot of symptoms overlap with depression too.
So or anxiety.
Or anxiety. So you might feel those as well. And that's okay. The thing with burnout is a lot of parents think that this is a normal part of parenting and they don't do anything about it. Well, it doesn't have to be. Like there are things we can do. And typically you'll see this in parents who don't have community or support systems around, or if they do, they don't tap into them. Because those are a big thing. Like we do need relief as parents.
Oh yeah.
We need breaks. We need to advocate for ourselves. And I see a lot of parents, at least here in Western culture, very much as everything's about the child now. And they forget about their own selves. They forget about the self-care.
Their partner.
Yeah.
We stop dating. We stop. We stop going to concerts. We stop eating out with just our spouse. We stop going out with our girlfriends or golfing or whatever.
Yeah.
We stop all of those activities. So not only are we adding more stress by way of being a parent, but we're taking away the very coping tools that helped with our stress before.
Yeah, that help attenuate it and give us balance. Because everything revolves around the kid, right? And that's great. And we also need to take care of ourselves so we can be an effective parent. Yeah, I mean, it's great if you want to be involved, but there has to be, keyword here, boundaries of what that looks like. And how, I mean, I look at parents like, I can't go to the gym anymore. There's gyms with free daycare. Part of your membership, go find one of those. If in your area, right? Unfortunately, like if you're in a bigger city or town, that's possible. But those are little things people don't think about, that there's access of, we get an hour and a half for free daycare at this gym. Let's go work out.
Sometimes I think parents scapegoat their kids. Like they say they would want to go work out and go to the gym. Then they don't actually really want to go, but they'll say it's because of my kids. Or, gosh, I miss hanging out with my friends. But then when they actually get the chance to go out, they're like, no, I don't really want to go.
Oh, sorry, guys. I gotta leave early. My kids.
Scapegoating of children, which I hear you because you're tired.
We're gaslighting them. It's their fault. I'm just kidding.
Fact. Because we're tired, right? And so then we might use our children a little bit. And,
is that what you guys did? I'm just kidding.
And sometimes I really encourage parents, try to push through the I don't feel like it, the apathy of engaging with society as adults. Because 9 times out of 10, once you do it, you're like, oh, I'm so glad I did that. That felt good for me. Or it was nice to feel like myself or whatever. Even if you just go sit at a coffee shop by yourself in silence.
Yeah.
To just not be in charge of someone, to not be in demand, to not have to have the auditory stimulus, to not have to have vigilance of watching your humans can be so helpful to the nervous system.
Yeah. You can even go with another parent and have a play date in a controlled environment, like the trampoline park where they have people watching. And you can at least relax a little bit. You still have to be vigilant. They might want your attention, but you have another parent there. You have someone to talk to. You're not alone in that process. And they're also playing with each other, which helps.
It's huge. So at the core, burnout isn't normal. Feeling tired, feeling overwhelmed, feeling stressed with parenting is. The question is, do we let that perpetuate without mitigation, without coping? Or once we see it, we say like, okay, I need to change something. I need to go advocate for myself. I need space, whatever it might be.
I don't know about for you. I can't tell you how many parents I work with where they are awful at carving out time for themselves. Well, we have to do this. 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 I'm like, if that didn't happen, what would happen?
Hi, I'm here. Yeah. My name's Kim.
And it's just like, hold on. Does that really have to happen? If that didn't happen, what would happen? What's the worst outcome? Oh, I mean, granted, like, I need to make my kid lunch, or, okay, is there another process we can set in place where that's not something you have to do every single day? Can we prep for the week? Or how do we get support in that? And I would say that this is a common thing among parents. They're not alone. We all suck at doing that in general. And then you add a kid, we're really bad at taking care of ourselves. And part of the burnout, which you talked about anxiety earlier, a lot of that is sometimes, well, not a lot, but sometimes OCD comes into this, where they want to control that stress. And they'll get very neurotic about all the things they have to do to make sure everything's taken care of, and protecting their kid or whatever it might be. That's burnout.
OCD, to give you an idea, OCD can look very different with parenting. It's typically more on the obsessive, the thoughts, than it is the compulsions. Not always. Yeah. So it can look like constant worrying about my baby or my child. It can look like not trusting anyone. The compulsions might be that they have to stay close to me. You see this at swimming pools where parents won't let their kids more than 6 inches away from them, right? Yeah. And it starts to take over, and we think of that as normal. I'm protecting my child. I love that you're protecting your child, and to what cost?
They're not porcelain.
Right. We think of kids as incredibly fragile, to your point, and they're not as fragile as we think they are. And so if we're starting to notice that, take cue of that, and let's start to do something different. Burnout is not just a mental process. We think of it as like fatigue or stress. It's not. It's a physiological process that impacts our adrenal glands, our cortisol production, our endorphins. Yes, cardiovascular. Yeah. And it doesn't, I can't say this enough, it doesn't just fix with one massage or one vacation. This is a repetitive process of giving yourself self-care consistently, day over day over day.
It has to be carved in. Yes. Like I said, most parents suck at carving time for ourselves or themselves. I mean, it's very difficult because the excuse is, I can't. I got to do this. I got to pick them up. I got this activity. Okay, let's put boundaries around these processes. What can you let go of? Does your kid have to be in 10 sports?
Oh my gosh. That's overprogramming anyway, right? And we see that, and then it burns out the child. If I'm burnt out, sometimes it leads to other people being burnt out around me. It's a fascinating process to look into the burnout research.
I'm curious to your point. My son's not old enough to be in school, but I have nieces and nephews that are in school. Can I blame the school for adding burnout to parents?
Oh God, don't
I've
ask
never
me
seen
that.
so much homework. I've never seen so much homework in my entire life.
Actually pretty good with homework well, she's only done first grade. They've been pretty good with homework. We are also, some people are going to hear this and want to shun me, and I'm really sorry for it. We're also the parents that take her on vacations, not on spring break and fall break.
Yeah.
Because it's less busy, it's cheaper, and I think she learns more on vacation than she does sitting in the classroom. But she's in first grade. Okay, I won't do this to her in high school.
Yeah.
And so, yes, it can. Like the burden of, especially some of our big charter schools, at least in our area, or our private schools, the workload's huge. And that workload doesn't just impact child, which is already too much.
It's the parent,
but it ripples through the whole family.
It puts a lot of responsibility on the parents outside of school. And I think homework is great. Granted, 20 pages of math problems, or just that, and that doesn't even include other subjects. I mean, I have my doctorate, and I was looking at my nephew's homework, and he was in middle school at the time.
It's astronomical.
And I was like, what? I don't even have this much homework in my doctorate program.
Fact.
And I write research articles, and I teach, and I have to do clinical work. And this kid has more homework than me. So there's other areas where burnout comes from. And by that, I'm saying we need to give ourselves compassion. Part of it is just the process of having a child, and there's a lot of stress coming in. But as to your point earlier, do we mitigate it so it doesn't get to the point of burnout?
Yes, it's keeping up with the Joneses thing, right? my kid has to be in 15 sports because Susie Q's kid is in 15 sports, and they have to be valedictorian, and they've got to be on honor society, and.
Yeah.
And it becomes too much where we're an overburdened family system. And you're just thinking about your own burnout. I can promise you your child is burnt out.
They don't know it. Might manifest differently. That's interesting. I actually don't know if they have looked at burnout in children. Well, I mean, some of the research that I did when I was at Florida State was burnout in academia, but that was at college level, so still adults.
But we're seeing mental health declining in kids in school. We are not seeing it improve over time. Even with extra tools, we're seeing it decline. Depression rates, anxiety rates are higher for kids than they used to be.
Yeah.
At least measured. I don't know that we always measured it well before either, but it can be really tricky because if I'm trying to keep up with my neighbor and I'm trying to keep up with all the people, I live in a town called Windsor, and it's a very uppity town. If I'm trying to keep up with town standards, my kid's going to be in at least 4 sports.
Yeah.
It's going to be year round. They're also going to have straight A's. They're also going to be part of 4-H. They're also going to do all the social activities.
4-H, can you talk about that?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know what that is.
We're in a farm town. 4-H is like a club where you help raise, whether it's animals or you help with farming, but it's a program really geared towards agriculture and teaching kids how to sustain life.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, it's a neat program to look into.
Yeah.
But that, in addition to the other things, some of these kids aren't getting home till 9 or 9:30 at night and then have to be back at school at 7 in.
And that's 9:30 at night before homework.
Yeah.
Well, and what we're talking about here, social pressure is another aspect.
Yes.
Letting go of the narratives that other people are shaping of what it should look like for you is a big burden relief.
Yes.
Huge. There's so many opinions out there, and a lot of people who want you to know them. Have self-compassion for yourself.
Yes.
We're not perfect. You're going to be irritable with your kid. You might snap at them. You might be tired and need a little break from them. That does not mean you're a bad parent.
That guilt, I think I've shared on here before. To me, mom guilt is the worst guilt. Like, there are no more critical people, like no worse in terms of criticism than other moms, which is insane to me because we all need support.
And they
yet,
all receive it too.
Oh, yeah. And they're brutal.
I look at it like a cycle. It's like, I'm getting criticized, so I need to criticize other people so I feel better about myself.
It's fact.
Yeah.
And then it spreads like wildfire, especially a town like this where scuttlebutt gossip is kind of the bread and butter of some of these clubs up here.
Yeah. There's a lot of social pressure. There's the day-to-day tasks that you have to do in just raising a child anyways.
Functioning as a human, I have to shower. I have to keep a tidy home. I have to take care of a dog. Things that are small, but they stack up real quick.
Yeah. And then the school.
Oof.
And then planning stuff on the weekends for meetups because our kid wants to go play. And then after a while, your calendar is so booked, there's nothing for oneself. And I'm a firm believer, you might have a different opinion. You have control over that to some regard. And you can put boundaries around what you're willing to do or not do. To give yourself, even if it's just 2 hours a day. There's something that you said in previous episodes is, look at your phone screen time. I mean, that's a big one.
2 hours a day? I don't think I've ever gotten 2 hours a day, Greg, unless it's a weekend. 15 minutes feels like a lot for a lot of parents.
Let's talk about your boundaries outside of the session.
It's hard. It's hard for a lot of people to even find 15 minutes, but you have to choose that, right? And maybe that 15 minutes is sprinkled throughout your day. So on your lunch break, instead of sitting on your phone and doom scrolling on Facebook and feeling shitty about yourself, go for a walk.
You mean in the mom groups where they're
ruthless. I'm telling you, my neighborhood group, Greg, alone, they take pictures of other people's yards, license plates, children, and then post it and shame it. I'm not joking.
Man.
It's brutal. Anyway, but it compounds that effect of, I already feel inadequate. Now I've got people watching me.
Yeah.
Now I've got to be on my best behavior 24/7. And what if I'm not getting my kid in every sport? What if that makes them not popular? Now they're going to get made fun of. And now I'm a terrible mom because my kid's getting teased. It is this cascade of mental processes that happen.
Yeah. And kind of the cascade of like you talked about, the cascade is in response to that, parents are trying to keep up with the Joneses. And again, then their schedule becomes, oh, we got this weekend. I mean, we got friends that are new parents as well, and they have every weekend booked this summer. And they're like, how did this happen? Yeah, how did that happen? Saying no is a big, I think that's an important coping skill for reducing burnout or at least helping prevent it from getting that point if it's not there yet.
Or if you do take on a lot of obligations, how do you minimize the time at each of those obligations? How do you filter out the ones that you actually want to choose versus the ones you feel obligated to choose? Do you bring a supportive friend? Do you get up a little early to practice some self-care before? There are other ways to build in too if thinning out your schedule feels a little impossible right now. If you're in sports, it might, right? If your kid is someone who wants to be avidly involved.
Hockey parents. Oh my gosh.
Hockey and baseball.
Oh yeah. Oh, any traveling sport. Oh man.
It can be brutal. I used to do swimming year round and I'd practice 5 days a week, meets at least once, if not 2 or 3 times a week. It was
God.
Brutal. It's brutal. Yeah. That's just one sport.
And it's a double-edged sword. It's like I put them in there and I feel tired, so I feel guilty because I'm burnt out from having to keep up with all this stuff. Or I don't put them in there because I'm keeping my own boundary and I put them in a once a week sport. And now I feel guilty because I feel like I'm not giving them opportunity. I mean, you feel like you can't win as a parent in any regard. And this is where self-compassion is a big one. Having faith in the process of them growing up and learning their experiences as well, that you don't have to control all of them. They might go on a camp trip with a friend and their parents at some point. They're going to learn something. I mean, there's a lot of different opportunities they're going to get, even through school, right? They're going to learn a lot of different opportunities from school in terms of sports and like physical education and even subjects and even field trips. So don't put all that burden on you to be the one that has to create all these opportunities for them. And even giving them the skills, especially when they get a little older, to then create that for themselves and advocate and see what they want to do and prioritize and be able to prioritize this stuff instead of being in everything. I also feel like when they are in everything and the parents trying to keep with the Joneses, the kid doesn't benefit. They're probably tired too.
No, it's awful.
Yeah.
And you're indoctrinating them into that belief of hustle, of obligation, of keeping up the Joneses. If I'm telling my daughter, and it's something I've even had to work on. Like, no, you can't wear that outfit because it doesn't match and it looks weird. So therefore you must wear like the cutest outfit ever.
Yeah.
Something small. That's telling her she's got to keep up the Joneses.
Yeah.
Or if I'm telling her, no, you have to be in at least 3 sports and you have to go to these social events, even if you don't want to, it's telling her my needs don't matter. My job is to keep up with the Joneses. It's to live out of obligation. And then she's going to be that parent if she has kids. And it just creates this transgenerational cycle of the elitism of feeling like I have to keep up, which just perpetuates burnout, anxiety, depression, stress, even relationship turmoil.
And I feel like they're healthy conversations to say, like your kid comes to you and says, I want to do that sport. This is what, Bailey's in. Okay, you're interested in that. You're also doing this. I want you to know what this is going to look like. And I want you to be able to choose which one would be more important to you right now. I mean, literally giving them a conversation and the opportunity to make decisions and think about that.
And realize you can't do all the things.
Yeah.
People are not limitless. Kids are not limitless. We think we are. You're not.
Some parents are like, my kid runs around. I have to put him in everything. I mean, that's true.
And sometimes it is safer to have a kid engaged in sports than to have them at home.
Yeah.
Whether it's keeping them out of trouble or that's free childcare, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
That could be true. But really being intentional about the choices you're making for them, for you, for your partner. Thinking about too with sports, we don't talk about it often in this way, but I noticed that my daughter goes to Kids Strong once a week. Her sister has to sit on the sidelines every time we go.
Oh.
So thinking about the siblings in this, if there are siblings, how is it impacting their life? How are they getting to spend their evenings and afternoons?
It's interesting to bring that up. I've had a handful of clients where they're an adult now. They were the sibling that wasn't prioritized because their older siblings got all the sports, or maybe it was the younger one that was better at sports. They prioritized them and they didn't have enough resources.
Or, well, we've already built the schedule of time with our oldest, so there isn't time to build you in.
Yeah. I mean, these are things we have to think about as a parent. And essentially getting burnt out is on you. You have control over it. And when I say in on you, I mean, it's in on you to be able to stop, realize what's happening and mitigate it. Now, all the stuff that's coming at you, socially and stuff, might not have control over that.
Especially if you're a single parent.
Oh my goodness.
I
don't know
burden load. I don't know how people do it.
I don't know how.
Like, we're not saying it's your fault. You have so much on your plate. But what are little things you can add in? And I'm talking about like eating an extra serving of veggies. drinking some extra water.
Yeah.
Things that don't cost money and don't necessarily cost time. Put your phone down 5 extra minutes a day and instead spend it outside breathing and listening to the trees.
And most people have access to the internet, whether it's on your phone or computer. And if not, there's libraries, public free libraries. Go there, look at your local resources. Are there churches that have after group stuff that maybe isn't religious focused, but provides a resource for parents? Is
Respite care.
YMCA? Is there anything there at the Y, right? A lot of kids grew up going to the Y. Is there resources in the community that are free that can give you a break? Some kids' schools, they have programs where they call it date night. And they have your kids come back to school and they have volunteers who watch the kids while you go on a date night. There's a ton of resources out there I feel like people don't tap into. That's a big, big way to help mitigate a burnout. And actually, because they are like the date night at the school, they set the time and day that they're going to do that. So when you can go do stuff. It's on a schedule. And that's really important when you don't have to think about it, because that's another step. We're tired. Oh, wait, now I have to go to my calendar and look at this. The calendar already gives me anxiety just looking at it. Now I got to go in there and schedule myself.
And once you do get that time, using it intentionally, right? I'm not necessarily using it to get all the house chores done. I'm going to use it for something that actually helps my nervous system soothe, to calm, to rest, rather than just amping it further.
And I know parents joke about this, but this is real. There's couples that do this. They will hire a sitter, or put them at their family members overnight, and they'll just go to a hotel and sleep.
Not for sex.
Not for sex. Just
literally
sleep.
To sleep. Sit in a hot tub and sleep.
Hot tub, massage, sleep. And they sleep in. And then they go get the breakfast. Then they go back and sleep. And if you got to do that and you can afford that, awesome. Sleep is extremely important health behavior.
But again, I talk about it as the proverbial house plant that we keep in the closet. If you kept a house plant in the closet for a month, you couldn't just pull it out, put it in really bright light, and dump a ton of water on it and call it good for a month. People are no different. It requires consistent care every day.
I like that analogy.
The house plant. I learned that from my own therapist.
That's awesome. Nice.
Shout out. Thanks, Catherine. We have to take care of ourselves every day incrementally. We can't just dump all the resources. We can't just take that one vacation in the year and think that that's going to get us through the next year.
Yeah.
It won't.
Yeah.
So how do we do little things to support our nervous system and to teach our kids how to support their nervous system?
Yeah. Mindfulness is a good one. You don't have to go and sit down in a dark space and cross your legs and anything like that. As you're walking throughout the day, and we talked about this in previous episodes, you can just literally focus on the things that you see and hear or physically feel around you. You can focus on breath. You can do box breathing, where you draw a box and inhale, exhale, depending on your drawing of it, right? Or you can do a 4-4-8 breath, breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4, breathe out for 8. You can do that as much as you want. A lot of therapists will actually do that in session and no one will even know. So you can do this while working. I mean, there's really a lot of things that you can do in the moment that do not detract from your daily routine.
100%. Washing your hands. Hopefully you're washing your hands anyway. So you're going to notice, what does the warm water feel like? What does the soap feel like? What does it smell like? Really taking that moment to just appreciate that 30 seconds of quiet while I wash my hands with warm water.
Yeah.
It seems silly, but it's those little things that decompress the nervous system over time. It isn't the big event or the hotel stay or the one morning I slept in for Mother's Day. It's not going to get you through Christmas, honey. It's just not.
It's not. You could even, if you have an animal, go pet them, feel their texture, feel their warmth. What do they sound like, smell like? It may not be good, but you're still focused on the present. You can even do that with your kid.
You're going to pet your kid?
Run your hand through their hair, or, especially new babies, the smell, or, focus on the little things, like their shoes. Oh, they're light. Look at the bottoms, look at the color of them. And to even be present with that.
Lay in the grass and watch the clouds roll by.
Oh, yeah.
Sit by a stream and watch the water roll by.
Yep.
It is so meditative for the brain to just watch those things happen without the intention of change, without the intention.
When the hell am I going to get time to lay my back in the grass? Do you know how much stuff I got going on?
Whatever. My kid makes me go in the grass every day. Every day. I'm allergic to grass, so that's why I loathe the grass. But really finding those little things, because unlike job, and job even burns us out. Unlike job, you don't clock out from parenting, right? Even if my kids aren't here in their daycare.
You don't, I do.
Oh gosh.
I'm just
Any minute Their daycare can call and say, come pick up Harper.
Any moment.
Any moment. So there isn't a moment in which parenting you truly clock out because you're still on vigilance. If you're sleeping, you got that baby monitor next to you.
Yeah.
Do you think your subconscious isn't clocking that? You're wrong.
Yeah.
You don't get to check out. Whereas work, some people conceivably leave their work.
Yeah.
Not with parenting. It is a 24/7 job. And I want to say for 18 years, but that's not true. It's forever.
Yeah. So kind of like in a general thing that we talked about would be the little things that you can do that don't interrupt your routine, like the mindfulness stuff, like, whatever that looks like. Tap it in your community resources.
Yeah.
Big time. Tap it into family members or friends that you trust.
Nanny share. You split a nanny's cost with your best friend.
Yep. And have self-compassion for being tired, for being short, for not wanting to be around your kid all the time.
It's normal to not like your kid all the time.
You can love them. You don't have to like them all the time.
We are not meant to like any human 100% of the time. We're just not. People are annoying. I hate to say it, except for me. But people are annoying. People are frustrating. They're irritating. They piss us off. That includes our children, our spouses, our best friends. It's okay.
I always tell people, I was like, wait a second. You expect to have all this happiness with your partner right now? I was like, you grew up with your parents. Did you love them all the time? No. Okay. Why would you expect that in this relationship?
I don't even like my dog all the time, but she's a pretty great dog.
Oh.
Sorry, Bailey. But we're not meant to, right? Our emotions fluctuate, our behavior fluctuates, so do theirs.
Yeah.
Also cutting back. If you can, not always can you, but if you can, cut back or find those moments of mindfulness while you're there. If you're at the baseball game, because your kid had to do baseball, go sit in the grass, watch those clouds roll by. Yeah. Take a minute to deep breathe. While Johnny's just sitting in the dugout, take a moment to take a walk, chat with a friend, sip your coffee in peace and just breathe.
Yeah.
It's these little moments that help with burnout, not the big ones.
It is so tough when we think about boundaries because that excuse always, and I'm going to say always, I'm globalizing, comes up of, no, I need to do this. I have to do this or I'm not a good parent.
Switch it to, I'm choosing to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to choose this self-care. Yeah. You've got to change the language from inertia, right? I am not an active participant. I've lost control versus I am choosing. I am active in it. I'm making this conscious decision while also intentionally choosing this thing to mitigate.
And this doesn't have to be something that happens overnight. I have couples who think about this and they're like, okay, in the new year, we're going to rearrange our schedules to look like this. And we're going to only do one sport. And, you might not have control this year or this month or whatever it looks like. Talk about it, sit down like you plan finances, hopefully. Like sit down and talk about it and decide how you want this to look while also meeting your values of what it means to be a parent to you. And also thinking about your own self-care and well-being in that process. Because if you have values for parenting, it's going to be hard to meet all those if you're burnt out because you're not taking care of yourself.
Let alone the marriage, let alone anything, right? If I'm burnt out, I don't have capacity for anyone. So how am I going to meet those needs? How am I going to stay connected? Slippery slope.
Yeah.
If you find this is a challenge, as always, maybe reach out to a therapist. Find that support that can guide you on those really tangible tools, but also help you process what has happened, what is happening, and how you want to go forward differently. Well, this has been Relationships Inside Out, where today we talked about parental burnout and to include burnout of maybe our kids or our spouse as well. As always, if anyone has any questions or topic suggestions, feel free to email us at relationshipsinsideout. Thanks so much.
Thanks.